these are the places which really need a work and a lot of persistence and very strategic thinking, because here again the same thing happens if you try to push too many things at in one go, then people will get scared and they will never look in that direction again ever.
I agree. If you push too many
So
things at
that
the
is
same
the
time,
phase.
nothing will happen. All right, guys. Hello, everybody. I just let in everybody else. I'm still sending some invitations, so because I want as many of us as possible over here. So you can keep on talking. We just were discussing with Hardik where we are in this cone of innovation right now worldwide. So you can just chat with each other for a second. I'm just gonna keep on sending the rest of the invitation and be back with you in a moment, and we can start. Okay?
Hi, hi.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening over here.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. I'm very
That's right.
sleepy.
Right. I keep forgetting it's morning for us and it's night for you all. Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
I know. But it's okay. I've stayed awake and I'll wake up as we talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so I got a chance to see, the videos that you all were sharing about, Prince. Yeah. So what is school for? I mean, I completely resonate with all that he is saying, and I'm just so amazed, that he has the passion and the courage to share his voice, and I can see that a lot of students are behind his message, and I think my own children are the same way. They try to just play the system so that they can get to where they want, to get the college degree that they need, but they feel like a lot of high school courses and college courses are just so irrelevant for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? It's like you've got to tick these boxes to get to over here.
Correct.
But really,
Correct.
they don't, in reality, they don't need to be ticked. That step
Yes.
shouldn't need to be there, but for some reason in our society, there's this step that everyone feels they have to jump through.
Yes.
But it's not a real step. It's made up. It's irrelevant, like you say. It doesn't actually give you anything of value.
Right. And then in the process, the price that the children and the students have to pay, with their emotional,
Yeah.
where it's very taxing for them. And so the KBD podcast from the orthodontist, I guess that Michael
Yes,
shared.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've marked it. I haven't actually had a listen to it. What's
I haven't either, but the way that he's soliciting the students' perspective, which speaks to all the issues that the students are really facing, and so it really dovetail into the message, right, of the videos of what school is for, and then it goes back to our discussion last week where we have to put the students at the center of the equation. So learning from their perspective is so incredibly valuable and crucial. Good morning or good night or good evening, Nadia.
Hi, Nadia.
Yeah, just to
So
tap
just
into what you were saying, guys. Look, I wanted you to look at the situation with the Prince EA. That education is actually not his thing. He's recording videos on like hot topics, and the fact that he's choosing education so many times only shows that it's a hot topic.
It's a hot topic. Yes.
Right? Because
Yeah.
he's recording videos on all different things. If you look at his YouTube channel, you will see that there's so many different things that he's covering. And education is one of the most popular. He recorded at least 5 or 6 videos already that all went super viral about education. And he's keep on coming back to this topic over and over again. So there's like a sign for us. We're just having a discussion with Hardik, how long it will take to actually flip this education. And he was predicting around 5 years. I was like, nah, it's got to be faster.
Well, that was the figure that came to my mind when you were just in the middle of the question. That's my intuition said, yeah, 5 years. So we'll see.
Well,
I know for a typical school, that's the minimum it will take, with all the red tape and everything that comes with it.
Yeah, well, it depends like which level we're talking, because the tipping point is 18% of society. That's the tipping point, and everything else will start happening faster and faster. So I want to get to this tipping point right now, but obviously the majority of the society, that will take longer until they will all convert to new education.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of educators are trying to leverage COVID-19. They're like, is this the perfect opportunity and storm for us to go ahead and destroy public education the way it is? So that's what they're saying. So it really, and they say it's going to be a hell of a battle still, you know what I mean? But like you're saying, maybe it's the tipping point. Maybe we can leverage this.
Definitely. It's like an inhibitor, right? It just makes everything happen faster.
Yeah.
I completely think that it is. That COVID just came in just to kind of like show us what's possible with this new world of technology. And because even before COVID hit, we as WEI were discussing how we can bring education to the online platform. And COVID kind of just did it for us. So I think a lot of people are on our mindset when it comes to that.
One more thing to keep in mind here is that education, in terms of like formal education, going to an institute, college, or a school or something, probably that adopting that in an alternative way would probably take time. But then the 18% that we are talking about, it could maybe be a total of the people who are aware of what a significant and impactful education would look like, rather than just those people who are opting for alternative schools or opting for IB schools or institutions. So probably the 18% would include the people who are aware of what is needed, or what is important.
True.
Yes.
True. I think it actually depends, because what Hardik said is actually very important. Right now, if you count the IB schools and international schools, the awareness over there is already very different from the general awareness of public schools, right? But the thing is that these people, even so that they know, they can't share it with the majority of society because it costs like tons of money, right? So what they know? Like, if you don't have money, you still don't have access to any of it, right? So that's the thing. Like, if we start like something that will allow empower parents to have a say, right, and influence the school, that's gonna make a big impact and big change, I guess.
And this is also related to the finances, like the costs, because I think last week or last to last week, we were discussing the kind of things that are probably deterring the parents from looking in this direction. So at least in India, I think the cost is a huge issue, because alternative education is often looked at as education by the elite class of a society. So if just to give you an idea about the price, so suppose the fees of normal education, like just where you have like 70 people in a classroom or something like that. That is considered to be normal here. So in that kind of an education, if your fees is something like say 500 rupees per month, that is approximately 6,000 a year. The cost of a private school would probably be something like 30,000 a year, 30 to 40,000 rupees a year. And the cost of an alternative school would be a lakh per month. So that is 12 lakhs per year. So that is, yeah, so you can understand 1.2 million a year. So this is the scale of school fees. So obviously the people who look at education through this point of view, they see alternative education as an elite education.
This is actually another thing. I don't know if some of you already seen a post on Learn How to Learn, the Michael Siemens group. There somebody posted there about post about homeschooling, right? Like, have you been homeschooled, or do you know somebody who was? And then there was like a little discussion over there what the homeschool is. I actually put my post as well over there saying, hey, I think we don't really like have the same perception of what the homeschooling means, you know. but that's like, because for me it's more like what Hardik is saying. It's an alternative schooling. It's not, the homeschooling is not giving the idea of what you're doing. It's an alternative schooling. You still do all these things. You still send your children to play dates. You still do have connection with your community around. And it's not, doesn't mean you close yourself in your house and just, you know, stay with your children 24/7, you know. And I think some people think that that's what it is, you know.
It is. It's funny. I can comment on that. You know, in the homeschool community, it's a big joke because there's this perception in public that homeschooling is about, yes, staying in the home, that the kids never leave the home, and yet especially in our homeschooling community, it's so active that you could literally do 3 activities every day of the week, and we're always as parents having to choose, okay, we're going to have to miss out on this one because we'd rather do this other one. And the amount of socializing and interaction that happens is amazing. It's huge. It's a lot more than in schools. There was a post on one of the homeschool Facebook groups that said something like, that's right, a homeschooling child went to school for a while, and she came home and said, Mum, the teacher said, sit down and learn, you're not here to socialize. and you know, and there's this whole thing about how homeschoolers don't socialize. And yet what happens at schools, the kids are told to sit down and not talk to anybody for 90% of the day.
Yeah.
And they're only allowed to interact with each other for that half an hour. Homeschool kids, when they get together, they've got a whole day to interact with each other and socialize and interact with people of all different ages. And yeah, so you're totally right. There's a very false perception of what
Isn't it funny?
means.
Isn't it funny that like what you just said, the teacher is saying it's not socializing time, it's learning time, and then on the other hand you have these parents who are answering our question, what's the most important thing in education, and they're saying relationship.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
this total disconnect. And I think that's the thing, that's what came out of that post, Mike, the fact that what parents think the kids are getting out of the school, or what parents want out of the schooling, it's almost like the opposite graph, isn't it? Parents want most of this and least of this, and what actually happens is the exact.
It seems like there are two different
opposite.
Like, circles, and there is no intersection over there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And what the kids want is probably a different thing again, like we've discussed. Correct. And I think we, yes, without having this conversation go around in circles, I think what we came to is that our target audience is the parents, but what I see as our target message is for the parents to listen to the kids.
Right. That's definitely a step two. But defining what's the market is one, and defining what's the message is two. Okay, guys, I think I just have some information from some people that they are busy with some other calls, so they might be joining in a moment. But I don't want to wait any longer. If they join, then they join. But right now, I'm thinking, let's just start with the clarity tool. All right, so we can have this one done by the end of the session, and then hopefully some other members of the community, they do have the questions, and then once they will go through the replay of the session, they will be able to add their own answers to it, and then probably we're going to have a nice collective understanding of what's going to happen next. Okay, so just a quick reminder, I'm going to share my screen. I wanted to show you our presentation. I'm sure from current slide, I'm sure most of you already know the clarity tool, right? We have this clarity tool from Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins from KBB, right? But just to give you an overview, we will start with the current status, okay? So the clarity tool is the tool that will give us basically answers for 4 things, and that will give us full understanding where we are right now, where we want to go, why we want to go there, and what we need to get there. Okay? So knowing the answers for these 4 questions is pretty much everything we need right now as a community of WEI. And we did this particular session at the very beginning when the community was formed. But at that time, we were looking at it from a perspective of an individual, right? So what is it for every individual member, right? And they were looking from their own perspective. So today, I was hoping we can do it from a perspective of a team, as a WEI community, as a unit, right? Where we are as a community, not as an individuals in the community, right? And the same thing goes to other questions. Where we want to go as a community, what's the best outcome for us as a community, and then why is it the best outcome, and what we have to do or what we should do as a community to get there. Okay. So today we think as a collective brain. Okay. So with that being said, the first question, like I said, is a question about the current status. I'm gonna give it like 5 minutes for all of us. Okay. So you can prepare like a notebook, or if you want to type in, you can type in. And for this 5 minutes, we're gonna try to answer. We're not gonna try. We will answer the first question, which is this question: what's the current status? And I'm saying you're giving me your thoughts, right? So you don't have to think what others will say with what's current status. What's the current status of the community from your perspective? Okay, how do you see it? Where we are at the moment? What we established as a community? What we have? What we don't have? The truth, right? What it is. And after 5 minutes, we're gonna come back together over here and share the answers. Sounds good?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna start my timer over here, and I give you the 5 minutes to answer the first question. What is our current status as a WEI community? All things that are here, all things that are not here. Okay, times start. Okay, we got 5 minutes, guys. If you're ready, you can just type in the chat section that you're ready. I'll see how many of us still need a moment. Okay, I'll give you 1 more minute, guys. The moment you're ready, just type in ready in the chat box. All right, I think most of us are ready, so we can start sharing. And those of you who are still typing in something else, that's okay. You can just start listening and type at the same time. All right. Okay, guys. So let's just start sharing. And like I said, there is no good and bad answers over here. It's our individual observation, where we are, what we need, what we don't need, right? And then we just can see if there are any things that are repeating or not, right? So if there are any takers who would like to share first. Go, Delaney.
Yeah, I'll go. Hi, guys. Sorry, I didn't greet you guys earlier. So good morning, good evening, wherever you are. So I said, where are we as WEI? We are a grounded and determined community who has foundational understanding of who we are, what we stand for, what our roles are, what is our philosophy as WEI, and our general desired outcomes. And that we need to become more specific with our desired outcomes to develop actionable steps and begin to take these steps to move away from being an idea to an alternative educational option.
Awesome. Anybody else wants to comment on any of this, guys? If you have some connections with what Delaney just said, we can just comment on that so we don't have to repeat the same things, right? Okay. Cindy, you want to go next? I see that you unmuted yourself.
Yes. So to add to Delaney, with my current educational context, I'm a K-5 public school. I serve in the role of an instructional coach, and I was attracted to WEI because I see that the teachers in our system, are, the majority of them anyway, are burnt out. And a few are just plain jaded. They're like, this is not going to work. I'm just going to go through the motion. I'm really tired, of this, of playing the system. I'm just going to do what I need to do, what I need to, according to what I know how to best help kids. So I joined this WEI community as pretty much a burnt out educator too, to see teacher burning out. And so I was looking for a different way to help teachers. And I see that the common perspective of WEI is that we share that common understanding that the current educational system is not serving our students and that we need to innovate.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. You want to go next, Nadia? I'm just going to mute myself here.
Yeah. All right. I have pretty much the same second to Cindy, what you were saying, that we have great ideas and we have been sharing stories and our experience also perspective, because obviously different where we, you know, were raised and where we traveled, and you know, you have different perspective, right? But I also feel like maybe in the future, what we could do is that we could, because we don't really reach out to the parents or even to other people about this. We talk and we discuss a lot about some stuff, but maybe in the future we could, you know, reach out to these people that we want to change the education, how it is. I hope I make myself clear. I don't know. Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got something to add to both Nadia's and Cindy's. Actually, I think I'll just go through the things that I wrote down. It'll become obvious which ones I'm commenting on. So my first one was that as WEI, we've got many voices from different backgrounds, which aligns with what Nadia was saying, that's a great thing, that we've all got different experiences and different past lives. We're not known to anyone except each other at this point. So again, that aligns with what Nadia was saying, that at the moment we're here, but nobody else knows we're here yet. We've got a similar vision to each other, but also to many others in the world, as we were talking before, that it is a hot topic, so that's a great thing. It's like the world is primed to hear what we've got to share. We've got a collection of different skills / superpowers that will be useful in getting the message out. One thing that I'm not clear on, and I'm not sure whether others are, I don't know whether this was discussed in one of the first meetings, but I'm personally not quite clear what each one of us is personally looking to get out of the time that we invest in here, because obviously as this moves forward, it will be more time consuming. Do we each have different personal goals? I wondered about that, and maybe we could collaborate on those. And yes, one of the other points that I brought up before, because we each have different superpowers and different skills, maybe there's a way where we can have those in a post and we can each sort of list what we can bring to the table. So that feels like my current status.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Tina. That also shows, because Tina, from my perspective, Tina joined us quite late. Like that, we were running our sessions few months before Tina actually joined, so she did miss a few of the sessions when we were actually discussing like something that she mentioned over here. So what is it for us from this collaboration, right? Which was also a topic that I had with Dylan just the other day, right? Like how we can have many different perspectives on how WEI can affect us and how we can affect WEI, right? John as well will probably say the same thing, that it was the topic for us from the very, very beginning of this whole community, like how it's gonna work, what's the core and what's the value for every individual in the community as well, right? So I think that today, with having a little bit more clear vision from our subjective perspectives, will help us to establish that as well, and then we can start sharing like how we can materialize that for each and one of us, right? Hardik, would you like to add to that your status, your current status?
Sorry. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. So the last point was also covered. So I was just going to add that we all have a vision of education or for educations by ourselves, and we just need to see how it fits in the community, as you know, as a community. But yeah, I think it has been covered more or less in everything that has been said so far.
John, I left you for the last.
I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. However, it's great to be here, and it's always been great to join up with WEI. I mean, the reason I came to WEI was to see how a personal vision could be distributed, a point of view that's come from a long time of study and working, asking the question, what is it that makes us human? What is it that, what is our relationship between our nature and our cultures? Are we determined by our genetic inheritance, or are we not? What influence does our geographical placement and our educational backgrounds and our family histories, our personal adventures in life, our crises, our ups and our downs, how can these be melded? I came from a structure, the university structure mostly. I've had a variety of experiences, but it's not a biography so much as a touching on the areas of social experience that we've all had that will give us an idea of how we can create not a force so much as an opportunity for sharing, not excluding. The problem with, and there's so many cultural reasons, I feel they're cultural reasons. They don't come from nature, they come from our cultures that divide us instantly when we come out of our mothers and start looking at the world and learning from it. And I've been searching with anguish, a lot of anguish, to see, because of personal ruptures and disruptions in my own personal life, how a little kid can have his or her voice heard in the world when you're looking at the structure that we're living within. It's designed, it seems to me, to maintain itself. It's a self-perpetuating circle or self-perpetuating triangle. The mental positions, emotional states that people are living in is like a bubble, and many people seem not to be able to see outside that bubble. That bubble is their world, and they are simply deaf, blind, and insensitive to the range of human experiences that people have, and are unable to see the common elements that keep, by a miracle, I think, keep us together in some way or another. So we're all geographically located in different parts of the world. We all come from different personal and cultural experiences, and it's a group where these elements are seeking for a unity of purpose, which is self-evident. What we base it on, if that's the right word to use, is our humanity. But then what is it to be a human in the world? Now, I don't know, to be more precise. I mean, there are lots of things. I've written a response based on Surisha's video of the student versus the teacher. And it's a long piece of writing, which I won't read, but I will distribute shortly, that places we in historical perspective, and also the immense challenge. And when we say we, World Education Innovators, excited talk with Mike, you know, the first time we met up together, World Education Innovators, and there's a little video on this, which actually includes Dr. RJ, the dentist who's now doing his wonderful podcast. where we're sallying forth against the giants, and we're going to take the world by storm. And this sort of exhilarated animus that was in my beginning in this group. I mean, I'm responsible for adding world to what Mike had as the education innovators. Innovators too seems to be tinkling at the edges, tinkering at the edge, innovate. I mean, what we're in is an evolution of human living on this planet. And I feel sometimes a resistance when we have the needs for business structuring and to determine what our actions are going to be, that we don't. Let me take one step back. The systems that operate are closed systems. And I think what the energy that I feel in this group is the potential for openness, not to close off the conversation, not to stop the variety of perspectives and problems from being discussed, but to have certainly specific actions set for us to focus on. And I think the focus on parents, the relationship of parents with children, I think that's where to go to start with. But to being aware of the vastness of the challenge, the vastness of the opportunity that's before us as we do that, so that we don't close off stuff that seems esoteric and terribly, terribly personal and private, and that we keep those in our mental atmosphere and be able to draw on them as we move through the business structuring and determining one action that we take. And that's about what I want to say, which is quite lengthy, but nevertheless I do find it helpful to have the space to speak. And I feel that most of us, or some of us, may have felt the immense loneliness of the long distance runner when you start trying to do something that's different from other people and you get excluded and rejected, and then you find a group where you can spill your beans, as it were. That's to be rare in itself.
Awesome, thank you, John, for that. I wanted to put a final comment on this first section. So I made some notes from all of the things that you were saying, plus I add a few of the things that I wrote it down. So I'm just gonna start with the points that I had as I was here from the very beginning. I sort of also speak for people who are not here, right? And the things that I had 5 points over here that I wanted to share. So here we go. We build a community of couple dozens of educators who don't agree with the current education system. That's the one thing that I see as a status. That's obvious for all of us. We build a common understanding of who the educator is and what is the main education function. What are the main goals of education? We have this common understanding established as a community already. We still don't have any structure allowing us to leverage the power of the team, right? We have a diverse community of educators from different backgrounds: homeschooling, parents, formal educators, and informal educators, all in this group. We established who is our first dream avatar, and that being parents. Okay, so those are the 5 points that I wrote. But also, like I said, I was making a little notes over here. So from all the things that you were saying, we could see some of the positive things, right? Some things like we have the common understanding of where we want to go, common goals, right? Like Dilni mentioned, and pretty much most of you. we find brothers and sisters or family who are actually with us on this journey, right? So we don't have to feel alone and like a long distance runner, just like John said. But we also are missing few things. And so from all these things that you were saying, one, for example, was we don't have like a clear action steps plan, right? We are not known yet, right? So nobody knows about the fact that we're trying to do something over here. At least nobody that can really make this thing spread across the globe, right? To our parents, to our customers. And then finally, we don't know what the individual people in the group can have out of the fact that that you joined this community, right? So what are our individual gains, right, from the community? And all this is a very good starting point, because now if we're going to go to the second point of the conversation, which is looking back from the future. Okay, so let's imagine right now that we are going to go 1 year into the future. Okay, it's a 1 year later already, and we're going to look back from that point of time. Okay, the WEI exists for the whole 2020, and it's already 2021. And what have happened throughout that time, if it would be a perfect scenario, like everything that you could possibly want to WEI to do for you as an educator and you as a member of this group, right? Because I know that you're going to be having your own personal things growing like together with WEI, but for now we want to focus on the future that is somehow related with this community. How this community can grow so it can benefit you, people around you, our dream customers, right? Our dream avatars, and the whole world in general. Okay, so once we have that, the trick over here is that we want to focus on where we want to go, okay, not where we don't want to go. Okay, so don't think about all the things that might happen and that you don't really want them to have. Only focus on the things that will be a perfect scenario, okay? And then when you're doing it, write it in a form like you're already there, like you're already having it. It's already happened, okay? Because it will change the perspective a little bit, okay? So what we're gonna do next is this, right? I'm gonna give you 5 minutes again, so we can write down the answer. 1 year from now, what happened with the WEI community? What are your role in this community? Where are we? Who we serving, or who we already served? What we did? Okay. This should also answer all your like all the things that we established in the first question, right? Things like what am I going to have out of this, right? This is sort of a place where you can answer that. What's the perfect scenario for you, right? And the same thing, the action steps. Okay, action plan is fine, but what's the result? What's the outcome of the whatever actions we're going to take? So this is the point, thinking about results and outcomes, and not the actions yet, right? The actions will come later. Now we're thinking about, we already did all the actions. What happened? Okay, 5 minutes from now, time starts. Okay, I can see that the four of us are ready right now. So others can just keep on writing and listening at the same time. Let's just start sharing again. So last time we started with Delaney. Maybe I can share with you guys first what I envisioned for this beautiful community, and then you can add to it or comment on what I said. So I got 4 points over here, and that are sort of like compression of everything I was thinking about, right? So we found our list of Dream 100 influencers and start successfully sharing our new solutions for alternative education with the list and with their followers of these influencers. WEI created an ebook that became the story that inspires parents to change and take action. We are running weekly workshops, online and offline, raising awareness among parents and giving them hope, strategies, and path to implement those strategies with the help of individual courses and mastermind that the members of WEI have. And finally, we have examples of micro teams within WEI community working together and delivering value to students while making money on it. So these are the 4 points that I envision are already happening a year from now.
That coincides more or less with my perception too, Michael. So I'll leave the 4 points as being discussion points and say no more at this moment.
All right, thank you, John. Who wants to go next, Tina?
I am spot on. I like the way that you've almost encapsulated some action steps within those points. I like your vision there. Now, the points that I had, I guess, were a little bit more vague. So I'll share them with you just quickly. My first one was that a year from now, students have a voice. So older students are free to learn what they feel is relevant to them and how they choose to learn it. And primary students are learning through play and interaction with their environment and the humans in it. So I guess that aligns with your point of WEI providing the resources for that to happen. My second point was that it's to do with the survey that you were doing, that self-awareness, personal growth, mindfulness, emotional intelligence are all incorporated into the students' and teachers' daily practice, which would take care of the teacher burnout and the parent frustration that seems to be happening, and the fact that everyone's just box sticking and going through the motions at the moment. So what I envision a year from now is that that's no longer happening, that teachers are self-aware and they can spread that to the students and hold space for the students to do what they need to do to extract their own learning out of life. And my third one is that I wish that from a year from now, and this could happen with your idea of getting the Dream 100 influencers involved, that parents and the teachers can let go of their fear and allow the kids to take responsibility for their learning.
Awesome.
So I see that they're very aligned points, but yours were a lot more action-based, while mine were more ideal-based, I guess.
That's okay.
But they're kind of
a problem. Parents and teacher can let go of their fear. That's actually really well said. And let go of the fear, because I think this is a great factor that's stopping them right now from doing anything. I'm speaking.
Yeah, the response is that if we let the kids do what they want, they'll just go wild or they'll just do nothing. And I know from my homeschool experience that that isn't at all what happens. But that's the response I always get when I say to people, look, you can allow the kids to take control, and there's this immediate response of, oh, no way. It's like parents and teachers don't have faith in the kids.
And they also don't
So
have
I would
responsibility on themselves as well, right? So right now they have somebody to blame. If the child is not doing well, it's the teacher's fault. But if there is no
that's
teacher,
right.
oh, there's my fault. It's my fault.
Yes, yeah, and I could talk on that topic. You know, it's a big thing that happens in the homeschool community that parents go through. They suddenly go through this phase of going, oh, it's all on. Yes. Anyway, that's I won't go there right now.
Of those parents as well, because right now I'm working with a mom who is thinking about homeschooling and need a guidance how to do that, because her son is diagnosed as an autistic boy. That is, you know, obviously it's very, like, we have a very big spectrum of autism, right? But she was scared sending him to the school, right? And then we had a big discussion. What do you want him to get out of this school? You know, why would you send him? What's the goal, right? And then after this discussion, she actually realized, oh, maybe sending him to this school is actually do more harm than good, you know. But at the same time, she doesn't want to be responsible just for doing it with him by herself, right? So that's a big point of it. Like, let go of the fear and find
Let go of the fear
of the alternative that we can provide. A very big gap to close for us, and a nice one.
Yes. Yeah, but I like the way you put it, and it makes it feel doable that we can help parents and teachers let go of the fear by providing the resources. Yes, that they might need.
Nadia, you want to go next?
I don't really have much to say.
Yeah, I'm just gonna mute. You can just.
You're muted, baby. Nadia, I can't hear you. Hello. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Mike just caught me like that, and I'm like, I'm not ready. But I guess I just have to agree with what Mike and Tina said. I don't really know how to. I can't really see how it is going to be 1 year from now. But I think if more parents and more educators and more students come to join in the group, then maybe there will be more discussion that we can help with them through Zoom or anything medium that could be used. And I think that would be great as well, just to see what we can do for them as well, right? I guess that's for me, I guess.
What would you love to happen as you being in the position that you're in now? If you had your dream come true, what would you love to happen? If you don't worry about how it happens, what would you like it? How would you like the school world to be, the education world? How would you like the kids that you're working with now to be in a year?
Well, if I could say, I think for me, the kids will be able to choose what they would like to learn in school. Like, we will give them an option. For example, in school, I am teaching PE and sports and also dance. And I will only want students who wants to do PE and sports and dance, so that the learning and the activities and the outcomes are more effective. And it's better compared to having kids who don't really want to be there, and then they're very disruptive. So if I could have a dream school, I think I would like to have that. That's pretty much the idea of how I would want my school to be. Kids would choose what subject they would, or what subject or what things they would want to learn.
It's a great point. You know, it's interesting because I was having a discussion with my son's girlfriend the other day, who's 15, and she's homeschooling now, but she was at school. And that's the main thing she complained about. She said she's not at all sporty. She loves to sing and do art. And she was forced to do high jump and long jump. And she said for her it was embarrassing because it's not her field, and she was quite traumatized by the effects of that. So yes, I like your dream.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
It's good. It's good to know how to jump, though. And isn't it like we've got a body? I mean, this is what I mean.
Yeah, it's good to know how to move the body. But her point was that she would have loved to like walk around the oval 50 times.
Yeah,
But she doesn't want to do high jump because she's just not comfortable with that particular form of physical exercise.
but that can be because
so she was happy.
Yeah, I understand that happiness idea, and that's often determined by the comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Sure, yeah, and it's good to push your boundaries, but I think there's a point at which it becomes almost traumatizing if you're forced to do something that you really, really don't want to do.
Sure.
And I think it also matters on the outcome. So if there is an outcome, then you would feel like pushing your boundaries. But if you are just doing it for the sake of doing the high jump, so then it just becomes that's it. It's just high jump.
True. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now I wanted to.
So maybe an obstacle course or something.
Can you repeat, Hardik? I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah. So if like instead of just a high jump, if it is an obstacle course, or if it is maybe a walk in the forest or something like that. So where the high jump thing actually comes into practice, if it is introduced that way, then it has a more organic feel to it. Otherwise, it's just an exercise.
I love that. I love that idea. If you're walking through a forest and there's a log across your path, the natural thing to do is to jump over it. But if it's just a pole that's put at a certain height in the middle of a field, yeah, what's the point? Yeah, I like that. Put it in context. Have a reason for it.
Talking about putting something in context, that Nadia's dream right now that she just shared. So she was talking from a perspective of a school teacher, but if you embed it into our situation here as a WEI educators, I'm thinking like this: the 1 year from now, all the kids that will be somehow affected by our WEI community have a chance to choose what they are actually interested and learn what they're passionate about at the moment. And the educators of WEI community will only have students in their courses that are actually passionate about something that they're teaching. Right? So if you think about it this way, I think a year from now it's actually a doable goal. It's maybe not doable globally in every school that we have right now, but it could be a working model that we established as a WEI community, maybe targeting homeschooling community, right? Providing them this extra alternatives and things that they can do instead of going to school, right? And if that's working for the parents and for the children, that can be a model. Look, we are already doing it. And the schools can start model that as well, right? Hello, Lucy.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
Right on time for the finish of the second question over here. We're just discussing the beautiful vision and compelling future of WEI community.
Yeah, it just sounded great. Thank you.
All right, Delaney, you want to go next?
So basically what I wrote really ties in with what everyone else has said, and I'll just read it. I said, we are available as an alternative educational option for students with a solid group and increasing of educators. We run a WEI platform in which we encourage each other's personal missions and support each other by providing each other as scalability as WEI. We have thousands of positive testimonials and social proof that WEI educational options are the best for student outcomes from our customers, parents, and students. We are a profitable educational system. WEI resources are available, social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook groups, book. We have an organic influx of clients, mostly through word of mouth, which I think it's the best way for growth. And we have a community of passion-driven learners that are nurtured by WEI.
Isn't that a perfect vision?
Yeah. That would be amazing, right?
Everything's possible.
Yeah, what Delaney just mentioned over here, Nadia actually also said a similar thing, that we actually have the community also of parents and students who are already affected by our actions, right? And then Delaney just also like followed up on that, and we, because of that, we also have the testimonials and the proof, right, that it's actually working. That's awesome. Cindy, you there?
Yes, and I appreciate Nadia's authenticity so much. I'm along the same line with her. I'm like, I really don't see a really clear picture. But I think a year from now, what I'm getting out of the WEI community is that I become more inspired, you know, as an educator by surrounding myself with super educators like you all, having like-minded, you know, perspectives. Even though our perspectives are diverse, but you know, we're interested in the same vision and outcome for our students, which is the ultimate, I think, avatars that we're trying to impact. And so what I see is that we're here to sharpen our solves with our unique views, knowledge, and skills on what's possible. And I'm really hopeful, you know, a year from now, what we maintain the attitude of, you know, what can we do with where we are in our own context, you know, with what we have, and again to, you know, strengthen each other, personal mission, as well as the collective mission of WEI. And then what can I contribute? You know, a year from now, I feel like along the way, I can offer promising pedagogies with my own personal school or educational context. We as a school are trying to innovate as well, and based on what I gained from WEI, a year from now, I'm just going to be able to strengthen my own setting as well as offering what we're doing at our school to this community. And then finally, you know, I feel like the outcome is that we have accomplished our mission in terms of inspiring ourselves to be the best version of ourselves as educators, so that we can inspire parents. So we have a group of inspired parents as partners with teachers or administrators a year from now. And that we as individual members of the WEI community continue to learn and grow, so that we can niche down, I guess, to who it is that we want to serve or focus on. So the niching part, you know, continue to evolve, I guess, for me and for the WEI community, because it's hard for me to see, you know, clearly the action steps that Mike is seeing, because you're much further along, you know, than where I am on this journey. So I thank Nadia again for being really authentic with what she would like to see, you know, this community in terms of its outcome. and through sharing, she had become clearer with what she wants for students. And that's the ultimate thing that I want, and all of us want, is that we want to provide students a voice and a choice to grow as individuals. So thank you for letting me share.
Cindy, can I ask you as a two questions? One, as an educator,
Yes.
You were talking about the fact that most teachers are burnt out and jaded. So I'd love for you to comment on that, because I've never worked in the school system as a teacher. So I'd love to have feedback on what it is that you'd love your job to look like in a year's time. And also the second question I wanted to ask was about your kids. You were talking about your children going through the motions. If it was a perfect year, a year from now, what would you love to see happen for your kids?
Yes, those are very super powerful questions. So thank you for that. I'm going to try my best to answer it, in a very concise way. I know our time is limited. So in my current educational context, even though I represent K-5 educational system, we also have a preschool classroom that was assigned to our school. So they are just being housed there. But once the children are finished, they have the parents have an opportunity to send them to whichever campuses or schools they want to. So it's really a blessing for me to be part of this community, and also to support that setting, the preschoolers, their 4-year-old students. And so the teachers are burnt out and jaded because our school context in particular, we represent demographically 80% of our students are English language learners, and the majority of them are US born citizens to immigrants, families, or parents. And so when they come to school, they have an identity, a culture, that they grew up with. And when educators meet them at the door, they don't know, exactly what that culture is like. And so children would have to kind of abandon their identity and culture for the most part to get acclimated to school, to try to learn a language. And then most of the teachers are trained, the pre-service program are trained to just teach, right? The traditional way. And children never have a voice. They learn a language, but don't get to practice using the language. And they're taught to say, okay, you teach literacy this way. You got to acclimate them with the alphabets and all of the things that we were discussing before. So some of them understand that oral language comes first, and before, they really can actually read and write. But for the most part, they're not taught how to do that. And then
so are you saying, sorry to interrupt, Cindy, so is what you're saying that what you'd love to see, just to jump ahead to that, looking back from a year from now, right, to stick with Mike's, I was going to say directive, but that's the wrong word. Sorry.
Yes.
English is my second language too, and I sometimes struggle to find the right words. But so if you were to jump a year ahead, is what you're saying, what you'd love to see is a time when the teachers are able to work differently.
Correct, and provide students an opportunity to use language in a meaningful way,
yes,
that embraces their culture and identity and voice, instead of pouring knowledge in, instead of drawing things out of them.
Thank you.
So yes, they're burnt out because the test result won't show that. If they're trying to go by the true process of how children learn, then they're caught, with their test scores or reading scores not showing up like at the time that we expect them to show, you know what I mean? So that's the predicament.
So there's this frustration that goes along with that you'd like to see gone.
Yes, so a year from now, I really would like to see my role as an instructional coach to really inspire teachers in this new way, by actually getting in and talking to the children, let them drive the learning, and
Yeah.
and embrace what it is they're interested in, and all of a sudden the gain, and the result, that would come out. And I've done it before, but I just didn't have, the time or the context or the energy to actually go in and say, let me just give me one or two of your kids that you feel like there's no hope, and I think this group had
Yes.
inspired me to go ahead and just go back to that instead of
Beautiful.
yes, pounding on the teachers, like I shared with Mike before. After school is where I get the teachers to kind of like inspire them, and they're exhausted and they don't have any more energy. And when they see me, it's like, oh gosh, I need to run away from her because I really don't need any more work.
Yeah, they're
So
already exhausted and burnt out, and it feels like you're just adding to it rather than, yeah. So a year from now, it'd be lovely if there wasn't that burnout, I guess.
yes, and we need to partner with the parents. So a year from now, the teachers and the parents are one team, and I was able to kind of exemplify that before as well, because a lot of times teachers try to solve the problem without the parents, and what a mishap that is.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that,
Okay.
Cindy. Thank you.
All right.
I like where this conversation is going, and especially that, like, Cindy started with these two things, that she said that she would like to have a group of inspired parents who are partnering with us, right? And she also said that she would like to be surrounded with the people and educators who can inspire her, right, and her school community. And I'm thinking, if you go a little bit further with that thought, like, what is the WEI's role in all this, right? How WEI can inspire those parents in your school, for example, right? On how these inspiring teachers from WEI community can help you with what you are doing in your school right now, in a dream scenario.
That's what I was thinking. Cindy could be like our bridge to go actually to a physical school setting, and be that platform that provides WEI the opportunity to serve at this level rather than just being a one level community, right? She can provide the different levels. We could go at different levels, guys.
Mm.
Yes, growing at our own pace. Yes.
Where are you living, Cindy?
Can you think about this, Cindy, like in this way, for example, like if you're a year from now and let's say you just have a group of educators in WEI who can provide whatever you need in your school to make your vision happen, what would that be? Like what this group of people could possibly do to help you with your vision?
So the data and the research that you're already collecting from parents, and your dedication to just provide values to parents, as a community, of educators, really, right? The parents are educators. They're the very first primary foundational educators for our children. So right now, with the poverty level at our school, we're also 90%, free and reduced lunch. Parents are doing the very best to try to make ends meet, to put food on the table. So I would love to be able to niche down to, a group of parents who are already demonstrating that they're interested and they're vested in their children's education by being on the PTO, by coming to the school. Maybe you could start with a very small group of parents. They're inspired. They're learning that, oh, okay, this is how I can support my children and my teachers. And then, in a more concrete way, like you guys are doing, like with the data that you're trying to get the parents' perspective. We're also going to move forward with getting their children's perspective, with Tina's perspective as well. So the children need to also be in the center of the equation. So I feel so inspired, the fact that you guys are not just looking at parents or teachers or administrators, but we're putting the children back into the equation and want to know what they want and what they need. And so I feel like, you know, I have to give myself time to evolve and to grow, and kind of like all of a sudden it'll spark my interest and courage, you know, to say, hey, let's just get a group of parents together and a group of teachers that also is interested in this work. So a year from now, I feel like maybe organically grow that group of inspired um, parents and teachers, and then the administrator can say, okay, you know, maybe we can deviate from the school or the district's agenda a little bit and focus more on what's organic and real, you know, for meeting the children's needs. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I think in the immigrant experience is not. Where are you living, Cindy?
I live in, so I live in Georgia, and we're in our school is in Gainesville, which is the poetry capital of the world. So we provide poetry for all the world's consumption, pretty much. And we represent, as a district, 24% of our of our students are English learners, so 24% ELL. But nationwide is 10%, and at our school is 80%.
Yeah, it was on that point where the children in immigrant circumstances are often the family translator in practical domestic routines and going shopping and that sort of thing.
Correct.
And that would be the
doctor's visit. Yes, doctor's visit.
That sort of thing.
So they come to school late, they miss school, and teachers get upset, you know, thinking parents are not engaged. You know, all of the misconceptions.
Yeah, well, it would be strategically, in terms of marketing, it would be good to tune the proposal that you're making to the immigrant experience, specifically to individual parents and the problems of shopping, doctor's appointments, relying on the children to be the English translator. Yeah, I mean, would that work? I mean, it's the opposite situation for me in Mexico. Of learning, I was assisting students to learn enough English to advance their academic careers, and the resistance that they had to it was enormous. But the fear of learning a language needs to be dissolved through, it seems to me, through an action-orientated activity, rather than being simply a classroom test, but it be a successful experiment in giving the students, say, your English is yours to use. Yeah, it's difficult to understand that, but in the multilingual community, your job is the connector between your parents who have more difficulty with English than you are having. Your job is to build up your capacity in order to help the family.
Yes, so they need to be empowered that they are the language broker, and that they have two languages, and seeing it as an asset instead of a deficit mindset.
Yeah, I'll send you something about that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Actually, it links really nicely with Hardik's situation, because Hardik is also running a school. So that would pretty much be the same question for you, Hardik. Like, how would you see WEI helping you with your school? What's the perfect scenario for you?
Okay, so I think it will be included in the part that I'm writing, because what I've in the part that I've already written, because what I've written is not just from this perspective that me as a community, is a part of the WEI community, but also as a school. So the points that I have put down are, so number one, influence multiple schools to take up alternative strategies and affect positive changes in their education as well as working system, since both of them are inseparable. And this will be done with recorded success stories from the schools, from parents and everyone. And there will be questionnaires for evaluation, like the one that I was discussing about the last time, and I think I've put it up on one of the posts. And along with that questionnaire, we'll also need a timeline for a change to see how. So timeline is not like a hard timeline, like in 1 year you'll see this change or 6 months you'll see this change. But timeline as in once you have started noticing XYZ things, ABC things are open for you. So you can try these things out and then you will see consequences, some other consequences, which will be in the next part of the timeline. So this is one point. Then the next one is increased active following. So this again, as WEI community and as a school. So once we start implementing these things, somewhere the following for the school will increase, not just in terms of direct stakeholders, that is students, parents, and teachers, but also for indirect stakeholders who will, people who will probably attend workshops in our school, or people who will probably come for any specific sessions and meets, or community building meets, and so on. Um, and in case of WEI, obviously, so number of followers. Then regular system of structured discourses or learning triggers for parents and educators. So if we have like a monthly or a semi-monthly um, discourse or discussion for parents and educators, and this becomes a system where uh, people actually do show up and do attend these sessions. So these will be based on empowering educators and parents. I have written against the system, but what I actually meant is against the stagnant system, like what has been set in and what is currently rusting our bearings, so to speak. So to empower the educators and parents, to help them realize that this is what is slowing us down, and if you realize it, we realize it, then what is the problem? We are already there. So that is the this point. Then efficient managing group, right? Okay, so at one point of time when we have enough people, so we can have like a rotating system of a few people who manage these meetings. So this is obviously after we get a decent following. um, then generate a series or research. Okay, generate a series as in like a course kind of a thing, um, with research-backed material, which can be shared with educational institutions and communities to accelerate change. So these are the 5 points that I have put in. So yeah, most of these are related to schools.
That's amazing. I took a lot of notes over here from all of this. I wanted to see, like, I already have 2 pages of notes, guys. So there's a lot of outcomes over here, and the list is only growing. I still wanted to ask Lucy, what's her perfect vision for the WEI community a year from now, and how this community is helping her and how she's helping the community. You still with us, Lucy? Yeah, unmute.
Thank you. I was just listening to Cindy, and I was thinking that when I was in the school system, how burnt out I was, and for me, I'd love to see those students be lifelong learners, and the school system just kills that out of them, as far as I was concerned when I left the school system, when I retired. So I still see I don't know, as I guess an outreach person, and continuing after the school, kind of after they leave the school, that it continues. It doesn't just stop when you finish school. So often people think that their education is over because they have the diploma and they don't need to learn anymore. And so that's, you know, that is something that needs to be changed in most people. You know, definitely, I've been a lifelong learner. So how do I see WEI in, I just see it as not just extending itself outside of the school system, really. It's just, it really is kind of the umbrella for, you know, all learning. So,
And
Yeah,
so,
we must unlock the concept of education being institutionalized.
right, that's well said. Thank you, John.
I also wanted to tap to that, like, so because this is a great concept, right? So this, like, if we instill this in students and in parents, that school is not just like from this age till this age and then you're done and you're done person and then just go and do something, right? So I'm thinking, okay, so a year from now, what we as a community with you in it can do about it. What's the vision? Like, if we're going to keep on heading that direction, like that's our goal. So what we can do, like how we can possibly get a little closer to that final vision.
Well, I guess to me, I think that after, you know, after we touch the kids in school, so that we touch, you know, what they really love to do, what their passion is, then it has to carry out to their career. So, you know, continuing that for them to so many of them graduate and just take jobs and they're unhappy for the rest of their lives. It's really, really important for them to realize that what do I love is a question that they ask all through life. You know, what do I love, and nurture that. And when it comes to working, that is a question that is first and foremost in their mind all the time. You know, I think, and so it continues with the job seeking or whatever you're going to do to help you, you know, put bread on your table. You know, it's so.
I'd like to add to that, Lucy. It really struck a chord with me when you said that the school kind of kills the want for lifelong learning in kids. I've had conversations with a number of tertiary education educators, so university lecturers, who say consistently that homeschooled kids, when they get to university, are do so much better because they're so used to directing their own learning. And I think what happens in the schools is that kids are pretty much taught, and this goes along with what you said earlier, John, that we're born a certain way and then we get, anyway, I won't go off on a tangent. Kids are taught that they're not in control of their future. That's what the school system does. So they leave school and they go, oh, I'm not in control. I just have to take whatever job is available. While if they were trusted to take control of their learning while they're at school, then that would carry on. When they leave school, they would have a belief. They would be creating a belief. They have already created a belief that they are the ones in control of their lifelong learning, of their future. At the moment, school gives them the belief that they have no say in their life. And that's what I'd love to see changed.
Yeah, I love how it sounds, and that is also why I'm so happy that we have people like Delaney over here with her CEO program, because that's exactly what will give them that ownership of their, you know, the decision of what they're going to do with their life, right? So hopefully, if everything goes well and this vision will come to reality, we can create these micro teams, right? Like we're working even right now at this moment with Delaney on providing these programs, right, to the white community, and that will put us as WEI on the map as well, right? So hopefully that's going to be just the one way how we can help bring value already, right? Show them how the students can take on get ownership on their own career and own learning and own future life, right? And then it will give a lead to all the other teachers and educators in WEI, and all the different possibilities for them how they can help, right? Either before this happens, because like at this point with Delaney we're thinking about the high school students, right? But obviously it's gonna these programs will be a continuum from the very young age until the adulthood, right? And so we can pretty much just see how it can work in harmony, and each of us will be closing a little gap for them, right? It's going to be like a little coaches on the road that they meet, and then they're just moving on to the next level, right? So this is sort of like at the beginning of the vision that I had for us, but also tapping into what Lucy said over here. We had a different discussion with Lucy about like bringing the teachers, for the retired teachers, but also the burned out teachers, like tapping into what Cindy said. All these teachers, they had the passion for teaching once, right? And they sort of lost it maybe already, right? And
But
then,
they just pick up, yeah.
yeah, but what we can do is reignite that passion by establishing some mentorship programs that are very popular in the US right now. I was giving some examples for that. Very successful companies that are linking mentors with the students, right? And it's like a very small units working together. The one of the companies
Sport does that.
students agent, no, what is it? Students agency. I will send a link on our group so you can see, because it was a while ago when I was sharing it. But I think it's students agency, and it's they're pretty much booked. They have so much people wanting to do that, right? Link the students with mentors, with the real life mentors. That you can, and they're only serving like people in US right now. So this is sort of something, if we have passionate teachers who would want to make a difference in the generation of future students, the WEI can be a way how they can do it, right?
I love that idea, yes.
I'd just like to...
Go on, John.
Yeah, so thank you. The idea of deschooling society, which is partly what we're talking about, taking education out of not being understood as an institutionalized, not owned by anybody. Yeah, it's something that we're born with, the idea of being curious and explorers, that sort of thing. In 1970, and I passed this reference to Delaney recently too, it was called Deschooling Society by a man called Ivan Illich, who was working in Mexico at the time. It was published in 1970. So, it rings true to the situation world education innovators are facing 50 years further on, and that we could see as its almost endless opportunity. Illich writes, "Universal education through schooling is not feasible. It would be no more feasible if it was attempted by means of alternative institutions built on the style of present schools. Neither new attitudes of teachers towards their pupils, nor the proliferation of educational hardware or software in classrooms or bedrooms, nor finally the attempt to expand pedagogues' responsibility until it engulfs his pupil or his pupils' lifetimes will deliver universal education. The current search for new educational funnels must be reversed into the search for their institutional inverse, opposite, educational webs, which heighten opportunity for each one to transform each moment of their living, sharing and caring, that the inverse of school is possible, that we can depend on self-motivated learning, instead of employing teachers to bribe or compel the students to find the time and the will to learn, that we can provide the learner with new links to the world instead of continuing to funnel all educational programs through the teacher. I think that's a very valuable document, and I can circulate that for us all to look at. Delaney suggested, after reading it, that we might have one of the discussions we had on that book, on that article.
And I'd love to, I read that in when you posted it up, John, and I loved that, and I'd love to comment on it, because I think that, you know, I'm in the middle of writing a book on the subject, and the first part of it refers to that fear that I spoke about, that parents have this fear that if they let go, then the kids won't learn anything. And my point is that saying that my child doesn't want to learn is almost like saying that I've got a pig that doesn't want to eat. Like, kids are made for learning. Of course they're going to learn. There's nothing else they can do.
Maybe
so I think that's what addresses it.
The kids don't want to learn something that the parents want them to learn.
Exactly. And that's what, you know, I've got a friend who's very much into pigs. She rescues pigs. And I said to her, what would you do if a pig didn't want to eat? And she said, well, obviously I'm giving it the wrong food, or it's sick. And it's the same with learning. If a child doesn't want to learn, it's getting the wrong food, or it's sick in some way, or unwell, or traumatized, or whatever. So yes, I think that speaks to it, that learning needs to be taken out of institution, because life is learning. We're born learning.
Yeah, which comes back to the first question the first topic we were covering very shortly at the beginning. What is homeschooling, right? And that it's actually links pretty well with how John just described it. We need the educational webs.
Yes,
webs.
I love that term.
Right?
Yes,
that's pretty cool. Look, guys, I'm thinking, my proposition is this: since we are almost 2 hours over here, and I wouldn't want to keep you another 2 hours to finish this exercise. My proposal is this: I have quite a lot of notes, and this is actually a very important moment for this tool, because this is where we're narrowing down. We have all these different outcomes and all these different goals that we set up for us as a community for a year from now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a whole list of these things on our group, right? So you can have a look at it, because the next question is the question, why this? Why these outcomes? And which of these outcomes do you think are the most important, and basically why they are most important? So out of that, we're going to sort of have a mission, right? We're going to turn these outcomes into a mission with this third step, right? Answering ourselves why a couple times for all these outcomes that are resonating with you. We're going to come down to these really big like mission statements, right? And that will give us the common understanding why we're doing all this, why we want all these things, right? So that's sort of going to become the mission of our common mission of WEI. Now, having that, the last bit will be preparing the list of actions, right? What do we need to do that, to get there, right?
Mike, could I say there's one action we can do immediately, which I did in relation to the post of Tony Robbins and the discussion we had last session with Sarish being present at that time, where you introduce it by saying special interest for me. You might find this fragment of our conversation very interesting and relevant, as you all, as KBB members, will become educators as knowledge brokers. You're selling WEI to KBB, and I'm noticing that you're doing that. And I say, and you use Tony Robbins, which is, of course, the magnet, to use Russell Brunson's language. I said, I did answer the question, because it ends with the question. And I add to that, I did answer the question I posed at the end of this edit The question was, what is the desired outcome of education? And my answer is the freedom to learn how to learn. An answer that all members of the World Education Innovators would endorse. Yeah? Yeah, I hope so. And an answer that all members of the World Education Innovators would endorse, and which animates the spirit of KBB. Together, we and KBB can make self-learning the new norm. Join us. And then there's the reference to WEI. I recommend that in our future posts to other sites that we always include the Facebook, the hyperlink that connects us to WEI. This will
Good action.
bring people, yeah, we can do
I
that as we
love
go.
it.
It's not going to interfere with us much. And we just add that little bit at the bottom, you know, join us. If you'd like to discuss this further, contact us. Or each time we put a post on the various sites of the web. Yeah.
A clear
It's
call to
amazing.
action, right? A clear call to action.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Good point.
It's massive.
Thank you,
We've
thank
got
you, John. That's really important. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you could do a lot of it too, Lucy. You're very good at that.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job, kid.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we could probably all agree with John right now, and I'm sure that some of the WEI members will be able to catch the replay, and so the next session will actually really give us that outcome that we're here for, right? The action steps, the list of things we need to do individually, in micro teams, as a whole community, right? As something that we can maybe do one time and then replicate, just like John over here said. Maybe if you have something like a clear call to action that we come up together, like this is what we agree on, and then we can all actually put it within all the posts that we're sending out there, right? Related with this particular topic, education, right? So all these things we're going to have on this list. Do I? Is that fine with you guys? We're going to continue with the next week, right? I will try to.
Sorry, Mike. So were you talking about the 7 levels deep exercise, the why, to consider that before the next?
If that's possible, pretty much that's the best way to go, right? About these outcomes, why these outcomes are important for you, right? And you're going to repeat that process 7 times. That will give you really like the mission, right? The mission statement. That will be your why. I'm saying we don't really actually need to do 7 times in particular, but really think about it. Why these outcomes and not other outcomes, right? Why this and not that? And you answer yourself that, and then you ask the same question again and again. So for the next session, we're going to start with that, right? I will try to put that list of outcomes that you gave me today, all of you, as fast as possible, so you had a chance to look at it for a while, right? And then think about all these outcomes, which are resonating with you the most, and then why? Ask yourself this question throughout the whole week. So by the next Saturday, the answer will be much clearer. Why this and not something else?
Mike, one thing which will irritate you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Education is not a topic; it's an energy.
It's a movement.
Yeah, it's an energy which makes a movement, but it's not a topic. I mean, that's how people talk about education is one topic, business is another topic, and the whole area of knowledge is disintegrated and confined within disciplines which students who go to higher educational schools have to learn a language in order to get the knowledge that's in it. And what we're doing is dissolving that. We're making it an easy access. And if we do that in our languaging, education's an energy,
or a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
To that. It's not a topic. It's not something enclosed in a little square or a triangle of power or a circle of infinite regress. For me, it's a spiral, and it has an open end to it. educare, to
I
lead
agree with
forth.
you completely, John. So you have to excuse me my language. Also, second language speaker over here, and sometimes like these emotions and everything get ahead of you. But at the end of the day, I do agree completely with what you're saying.
I'm so glad, bro.
For me, it's actually a lifestyle. You
Yeah,
are
because
either a lifelong learner or you're not.
that's how government looks at education. It's a topic.
It's a topic.
We're going to put so much money here. Education. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, and it's less than they put into war.
exactly. Or
Y'all, what you've been sharing today, each one of you, your perspectives and what you've shared, really made me a much happier human being. So I thank you for sharing.
and thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy, too. And I think it's only going to get more and more clear how we can all help each other, right? And how we can actually start getting value out of it, and as individuals. It's just
Cindy's where we want to be, in the forest, yeah, not in a room. We're going to take it out. That's a lovely little image of you, Cindy. You're an inspiration.
Thank you.
I don't know.
I'm really at my home, and it's a forest, but then that's still a virtual background of my forest.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a picture of where I am. Thank you.
talking about.
I'm in the country.
Nice.
Thank you, Tina, for sending that last link with Steve White, I believe his name was, right? It was really, really cool stuff, and the things that he was sharing. I watched the whole thing, the forest schools, and that's probably also one of the beautiful visions that we might have for WEI. Have a forest school in every city in the world, right?
Yeah, no, I'm going to have a chat with Steve in the next couple of days about what he does. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, Steve White is already a part of our community. I sent him, or I think maybe you sent him an invitation. Actually, so I admitted him to the school, to the group, and so you can say hi, guys. I think he will be thrilled to see that there's so many supporters of this approach.
Oh yeah, a Scottish man from the Highlands.
Mm-hmm. Love the accent. Love his accent, by the way. Really cool. It reminds me of the time when I go visit my mom, because she lived there for 10 years.
Okay, that's lovely.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining today. It was lovely to have you, and thank you for all your outcomes. I do my best to share this with everybody as soon as possible, okay?
Will that be in
Thank you, Mike.
We can do some of this contribution too, can't we?
Sure. Reach out to all the other members and get motivated to stay engaged.
Okay.
Good luck on the roof there too.
Thank you. And
take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good morning.
Yes. Good night. Rest well.
Good night. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
See you, Tina.